Good morning and welcome to the Sports Desk stream live on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with producer today, Josh Brown. All in the Iwani's out. Our special guest is Volcano Vista head coach Chad Wallin. Coach, thanks so much for being on. We sure appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Coach, first of all, before we talk about Volcano Vista football, we want to talk a little bit about the national championship last night. Alabama routing Ohio State 52 to 24. And you and I talked about it. Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith. They just had some big games last night. And Devontae Smith, 12 catches, 215 yards. Mac Jones, 415 yards, 5 touchdowns. What did he do for his draft stock? Talk a little bit about the game last night.
It really seemed like Alabama just a different class, and that's nothing against Ohio State because, look at the recruiting classes they put together and the ball players and the first-round draft picks they produce every year. But you just came in and the speed of Alabama seemed to really put pressure on Ohio State, and that was with Najee Harris had 40-something yards at half. They hadn't even really turned him loose yet. And it was cool to see the Heisman jinx kind of go away. There was a lot of talk about the Heisman winners not doing well in bowl games, and Smith sure looked good to me.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a juggernaut. Nick Saban, 6 titles now at Alabama, 1 at LSU. Definitely one of the greatest college coaches of all time. And it's a system. It really is. And Ohio State, they did the best they could. But if you can't match them touchdown for touchdown, and really, who can? There's a lot of second guessing about the bend and break defense. Good luck. Go let somebody else try to stop that because I don't think Clemson would have fared any better.
No, and who came close to Alabama all year? I think they were challenged with Florida earlier in the season, and that was really the only team that ever kept it really interesting. So it's not a new deal. It's not a knock on Ohio State because I still think they were the second best team in the country. I just think this was the year that Alabama was just heads and tails above everybody.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon. We've seen that before. Coach, we want to talk about that. 2 back-to-back semifinal appearances by the Hawks, 11-1 last year, losing to Rio Rancho in the semifinals. You've had some great success out there coaching, building a great program. And practice, I saw your counterpart, Heath Ridenauer, on Van Tate last night. The NMA executive director, Sally Marquez, was on with Van Tate last night talking about it's supposed to start up in February, and maybe practice is scheduled to start January 19th. Talk to us a little bit about the pods and how things have been working out, how you've been keeping your Hawks engaged during this lockdown.
At this point, the pods are tough. They're very, very tough. Trying to do 5 kids with 1 coach in a program of 130 kids, trying to get each kid an opportunity to be at workouts. We've had to really adjust, getting better at it. The kids I'm super proud of them. They're resilient. They need motivation a little bit more often. They need reeling back in. There's a lot of downtime in their day, so getting them on track or keeping them on track has been a challenge. But there's the great thing about what Sally and the NMA's done is they've always been real transparent with us, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're just kind of chasing. We're supposed to get back to some pod work on the 19th. Season's tentatively scheduled to start football on February 1. So, in the next couple of days, we're hoping to get some good news that everything's a go. So clinging to that and trying to push that on the kids and keep them motivated is the focus of every coach in the state at this point.
Coach, you mentioned chasing some light at the end of the tunnel, and you and I talked a little bit about this last night, and there's some vaccines and people are getting vaccinated, and this thing, this virus at the same time, and I want to make sure everybody knows this, we have to take it seriously. You've known some people that have been affected, I'm sure, so have I. So we're not trying to downplay this by any means, but I think you mentioned chasing that light at the end of the tunnel. So with that, I think I hope that that's the case, that we have some hope at the it's been a dark tunnel, right? Now, Coach, you've been around the game for a long time. You and I had a good talk. You've been around New Mexico sports for decades, right? And you're going to be around for a while, right? So you know how it is when kids, and I've talked to the Texaco coach, Coach Benjamin and Coach Malcolm, right? So kids as a whole are missing that. They're missing that link. They're missing that competition. But we understand for the reasons, we get it. But maybe, hopefully, there is that light, at the end, right? We're seeing a glimpse. Now, has there been anything said to you as far as feelings and meetings with Sally Marquez that gives you some hope that, yes, that come February, the season may go off indeed as they said? Is there anything that gives you hope for that?
Not from the state, but from Sally and the NMAA. They're fighting for our kids. They're fighting hard for us. They're exhausting possibilities. They're exhausting ideas. They're having meetings with us to get our thoughts. They're keeping us informed, which really makes us feel like, the NMAA is in our corner with the governor trying to get something done. It feels like the state is forgetting that extracurricular drives high schools. It drives education, and these kids don't have that. And so what is their motivation to do well in school? What is their motivation to get up and go to class? I don't care if it's sports or band or any club that you're part of. Teenagers need that. We've talked about our coaches and the people we've known and the people that drove us and kept us focused and reeled us back in when we got out of line just a little bit. And right now it doesn't feel like the kids have that. But for me, I just feel like the NMAA is there fighting in our corner and is going to get something done for us. I really do.
Yeah, that's a good hope, right? I'm trying to be optimistic, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned we've gone through a dark period again. I don't want to downplay the pandemic. I don't, because I've known some people, a couple of people I know passed away from it, and one guy I know just got out of the hospital after 84 days. So I don't want anybody to think we're downplaying that. We're not. Sure. But the other good news, and this was said again by your counterpart, who I have a lot of respect for, I know you do too, Heath right now. He said this last night on Van Tate that they found out that the spread doesn't really come that much from from kids playing sports. They've found that out. So maybe that's something that hopefully down the way, because the online learning, Coach, talk about that a little bit, because I've talked to Justin Woody, other coaches. How has the online learning affected your kids at Volcano Vista?
Well, like I said, it comes with its challenges. Just in football class, the extent of what we can do with them. There's 112 kids enrolled, and that's just sophomores through juniors. We don't have a freshman class. There's days that we get on to do our 30-minute full body exercise and talk and just keep engaged with the kids. And there's times we have 60 kids, and that's never been the case when we are live here at the school. The weight room's full and over 100 kids. So the online they're lacking, like I said, they're lacking that driving force that keeps them doing the right thing. And the online stuff, let's be honest, if I was a teenager and I know if my parents weren't home to make me be in class paying attention, I might be playing video games or I might be doing other things. So we're losing that ability, that structure that keeps them focused. Like I said, the job of the teachers and the coaches has been a little tougher, reeling the kids back in, but they're resilient. And I got to say, they respond every time. Every time the numbers start dropping and we start, feel like we're losing kids, we get a team meeting in the evenings on Zoom, send out messages through text and remind 101 about mandatory meeting to talk about things, and they respond. So the number of times during this time they've had to respond is multiplied, but they do. So I'm very proud of them for that. I really am.
I think you mentioned the mental. It's tough when you don't see them, right? Because again, when you see them at school, and Coach Woody alluded to this from Highland, he can tell when someone's down. Coach Benjamin as well from Las Cruces. You just see somebody's body language, right? You see them, and what's up? I would do that with a lot of kids that I work with. Hey, what's going on? I can tell right away by body language, and just that 5-second interaction that they know. And Coach Woody alluded to this as well. Kids respond better when they know they have adults that care about them in their lives, right? And then again, that's tough. But I think what you're saying, and we're hoping a glimmer of hope, that light, that we're chasing that light. Is it brighter, or and that's a question, it's a rhetorical question. Is it a brighter light? But again, with the vaccines coming and some people getting vaccinated for this, that's hope. That's hope. Now, most of these kids aren't going to be affected the way older people would be, right, and people with underlying conditions. But we still think and hope that there is light at the end of that long tunnel, right?
Sure. Well, because it's not. Just being responsible on our part is, we're worried about our kids, but they leave us and they go back to a home. Whereas if they're exposed or exposed regularly, it doesn't just affect them. It affects their family members. So, one of the things we talk about is here at school, we trace and track those kids very well. Temperatures every day, a form they have to fill out. So, feel like we've done a pretty good job. But we want to keep them safe, and we want to keep the families safe too. So there's a lot that goes into it. I'm with you on that.
You've mentioned what you're doing to stay safe, and the hand washing, the social, as much social distancing in pods. They've got you in pods. We're gonna, in the second segment, we're gonna have you talk about Volcano Vista football and the building of a program. You've had a lot of success out there. Some speed kills out there, Volcano, man. You've got some really fast, speedy guys. You really have. And you played some tough teams, of course, in Cleveland and Rio Rancho. Those are always tough games to play. But I think, as you mentioned, going forward, what is it? Give us a chance, is what you're saying. That's what Coach Ridenhour said last night. If I asked any other coach throughout the state, it's a volleyball coach, a basketball coach, a cheer coach, they'd say the same thing. Let's discuss it, right? Let's have a dialogue.
Yeah, that's all we're hoping for. We won't know. There's so much about this going on that we don't know. And places have been successful, places have started and had to shut down, but they're trying. And that's the key point for us, is give us a shot. Give us a shot.
Coach, I can't stress that enough. I think that's, again, we're not downplaying anything, right? I think the other thing that kind of made me pull back a little bit was watching Arizona. You and I talked about that. All of a sudden, Arizona became this crazy hotspot, and that's the unpredictability of the virus, right? Nobody can really predict it. I'm not a doctor, so I can't really say, but that was just kind of a little bit of a red flag with Arizona. But I don't know that they're doing the safety things that New Mexico is. So right. I don't know that it's apples and oranges, and not everything can be compared. But so I think we still have hope. Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to let you talk about Volcano Vista football, what it's meant to build a winner out there. We'll be back with the Volcano Vista head coach Chad Wallin on the sports desk after these messages.
Let's get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what he'll
just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
And he's going to fire at the buzzer, and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
Tie in the district. Inside, fly, Eagles.
Chavez uses some athleticism, and then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds, and look at this, stripped, stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Couldn't have said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
To the paint. Medina from the volleyball lines. Medina wants another one from deep. Oh, he wants 10. Give him 10.
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Volcano Vista, but just all the different scenarios we can see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
Oh! Ho, ho, ho.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot. It's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk. Ed Nunez along with producer Josh Brown, our special guest today, Volcano Vista football coach Chad Wallin. Coach, again, thanks so much for being with us. We sure appreciate it.
Love having it. Love being on.
Coach, we're going to let you talk about it. You've built a great program out there. And, again, I mentioned speed kills. You've had some, we just mentioned David Cormier. You mentioned he might have some eligibility left. And that was one athlete that was incredible. You've had, again, some great success. Talk about the building of a program out there at Volcano Vista. I remember when the school was built, I think 2006.
First season was 2007.
Okay, so it took a little while. And I know your basketball coach, Greg Brown, took some time. Lisa Villarreal, Kevin Andrus, who just retired. Congratulations to Kevin, by the way. Kevin, I love Kevin. Kevin was a heck of a coach. We used to play a lot of basketball against each other. I was telling you about him. Heck of an athlete. People forget he pitched in the Pittsburgh Pirates farm system and was a heck of an athlete. I think people kind of forget that. So congratulations to him. But talk about the building of a program out there at Volcano. The school's way out there on Unser. You talk a little bit about how it was to build a winner out there, and you still have a very good program.
So obviously, just like anything, it had its trials and tribulations. The school opened in 2007, and we just did freshmen that year. And I'd never coached freshman football, so that was a challenge in itself because those kids are a little squirrely, and it just wasn't quite the expectations I had dealing with high school football players. We had some immediate success, which really kind of made things tough on us because the first year that we started, I think we were 3-1 to start the season, and we didn't have a senior on staff or on our team. It was all sophomores and juniors. And I thought, well, shit, I thought this is easy. And it just, football has a way of humbling you very quickly. We started getting beat up, started getting beat physically. The next year, I think we go 10-2. The third year the school's in existence, we get to the semifinals to start that. And I really kind of felt like, wow, we are really where we want to be. And then we changed districts and we got put in with Cleveland and Rio Rancho. And that's just, those are juggernauts. And, there's been years that the gap between us is very large. And you really sit back and you wonder what's going on and you try to figure out how to adjust and fix that. Competing within Albuquerque, I think we'd lost within 3 points to Monzano like 3 years in a row. We just couldn't get over the hump on those guys. When Coach Ocampo was there, I remember Coach Ocampo and the success he had at Monzano. And then we finally overcame that obstacle of competing within APS. And then we've had to adjust to how to compete in this district. And so, one of the things I'm super proud of, minus the good years, we've had a couple really good ones. We've had some very tough ones, is the perseverance that we just keep moving forward and trying to get better every year. Being a new school with the shine, I've had 4 assistant coaches move on to be head coaches. And you always, as a head coach, you always feel like you want guys that want to be head coaches because of the work ethic and the desire and the dedication. But then they leave and they're head coaches somewhere and you got to replace them. And putting a good staff together has been a challenge. So super proud of the work we've done, super proud of where we've been, the lumps we've taken, the lessons we've learned, and we're just striving to get better. And the kids have really, the last 3 or 4 years have really, really bought in to working their tails off and buying into what we ask them to do. And I think that's the key. You know what I mean? I really do. Just the buy-in of the kids.
That's huge because once you start building that program and they see that, they want to be everybody wants to be part of a winner, coach, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's easier to say, coach, you want kids that are coachable and they want to be part of that, right? We always say that kids have to be coachable. and winning sure takes care of some of that, because a lot of kids, one guy that I know who used to play for the Lobos, Phil Smith, one of the best point guards the Lobos ever had. He always mentions about branding. Kids want to brand, right? They want to have their brand on Instagram, they want to brand. I'll tell you what, these group celebrations in the end zone drive me crazy sometimes. I'm a big Cowboys fan, right? And they're celebrating, and you're 6-10, man. You're losing, and you get a turnover. You want to have a group celebration. That's me though. I'm old school, right? I mean, those kind of things drive me crazy.
Yep.
So I think for you, again, the success that you've had. Here's the other question I got: 2 semifinal appearances, right on the cusp of being in a championship. What does it take for Volcano Vista to take that last step?
It's just getting the ingredients right. Every year everybody's asked, is it about talent? Is it about scheme? Is it about culture? And I think the personality of each team and each coaching staff changes what is most important. If I was to say anything perfect, I'd say it's a third culture, a third talent, and a third structure and coaching. And some years you need more talent. And then the next year you need better culture, because we've been the victim of that sometimes. And for me, it's just having a stable coaching staff is going to help keep us moving forward, because we're able to look back at what we've done well or what we need to improve on, and we work hard in the off season to take those steps. So, nose to the grindstone, loyal, dedicated coaches, and just working to improve every time and staying hungry. I think that's it. I wish I knew the exact answer to that.
No, you know what?
Maybe I should check the coach
You had
out.
to have been excited, though, because you're right there. And you lost, right, to Rio Rancho in the semifinals last year. But there's got to be a little bit of sauce to say, you know what, we're almost ready to take – and winning, the gap, Coach, the gap between winning and losing. People sometimes don't get it. It's not easy to just order up championships. It's not. That's why the success that Alabama is having is incredible, right? Nick Saban, 7 championships, 1 at LSU. That makes you see Bill Belichick with the championships he won in New England. Yeah, really, he's the greatest coach in NFL history for sure. There's no doubt.
Yep.
But people think it's easy to win, and it's not. It could be an injury. It could be this. It could be you just mentioned chemistry, ingredients. Right? Sometimes to get to the semifinals, you had what it took to get there. To get to a championship, it's one big step, right? And it could be all the things that you mentioned. And one year it could be perfect, and the next year it could be a fumble, it could be a turnover, it could be the breaks of the game. I used to tell my son that. My son coached at St. Pius C team, and he's a heck of a good little coach. He really was. But I'd say, son, sometimes the breaks go for you, and sometimes they don't. Right? Some of it's luck too, Coach.
Absolutely. I mean, the ball's got to bounce your way, a number of times. And just like in any sport, it's not always the better team that wins the game. I mean, in the NFL this weekend, there were a couple games, the Rams in Seattle, Pittsburgh and Cleveland. I mean, you can sit there and talk about who had the most talented teams. There's a lot of things that go on in sports that you can't control. You have to control what you can and make those strengths. So, ball bounces your way, you're in a state championship game. A little bit better prepared for a certain situation in a game football wise, and you're in a state championship game. So, I think it's just work in progress.
Yeah, that gap is just as we mentioned. Talk to us a little bit, Coach. Again, we're grasping on and holding on to that glimpse of hope, right? Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about this year's team and what can we expect from the Volcano Vista Hawks if we see them on the field. Talk to us a little bit about it.
I'm excited about them. We lost 35 seniors. We've never had a class over 30. The kids that just graduated were phenomenal. They had a hunger to them, and they graduated. So we've got to move on to a new group, and this group is just hungry. They have a little bit of got something to prove in their demeanor when we work out and we do things, which I'm very, very excited about. I think under the radar, I get questioned quite a bit about why this kid or that kid isn't mentioned on NM Preps in the top 100, or why this kid isn't, getting notarization from other coaches. And part of me, for the team, I love the fact that we're just kind of quietly going about our business trying to get better. And they got a hunger. We're going to be a new team, and it's exciting. So, those are things you'll see from us this year.
Coach, if football does indeed go off, and again, we're hoping it does in February, and the season's supposed to start in March, correct? You got a month to work out.
Yeah, end of February.
How much work are you going to have to put in? Again, you got to weight lift, you got to put in the schemes, there's a lot of work to do. Now, if it does start in February, what kind of track are you on as far as the team there to get all these preparation in 1 month? And again, it's different because you're playing in the spring. This is
Right.
uncharted waters, Coach. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so playing in spring is going to be different. Weather is going to be a huge issue. You know how spring is in New Mexico.
That wind.
Gusty, nasty winds, cold winds. So it's going to be different. The challenges, everybody's going to face the same challenges, because if you're not staying prepared, when they finally give us the okay to get going, it'll show. So, we're trying to use our time, whatever time we have with these guys, real wisely, real detailed about getting prepared now, so that when they finally give us the okay, we are on the path, not starting the path. Does that make sense?
No, you're a little ahead of the game. As you mentioned, it's different because when is the last time, Coach? Now, you've been around the game of football at Moriarty. You've been around the game of football for a long time.
Yeah.
When is the last time you played 7-on-7 in the summer, right? But
Right.
never a football season in the spring.
No.
The AAF tried it last spring, USFL. Back in the day, you might even be too young to remember the USFL.
I remember that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's going to be different, right? It's going to be different.
It'll be completely different. Kids are, football, luckily being the first sport planned for the semester, is huge. But there's not going to be much downtime for these kids that play multiple sports and getting ready to go from football to basketball or wrestling to track or baseball. Like you said, we want our shot. We need to stay ready and keep working towards when we do get that okay. And then be ready for those challenges, because that spring wind is going to be crazy.
Oh,
That
man,
ball's gonna be
especially
moving.
out of community stadium, Coach. Imagine that. But we want to be on the field. That's for sure. Coach, got about a minute left. Make your
Yes, sir.
case why we think, again, why you think this can happen in a safe way. Make your case.
We've got to give it a shot. The kids need it. I think we've got to exhaust every possibility to help these kids emotionally and mentally through this hard time. Parents aren't home. They're at work. Kids are on their own. We need something. We need something. The biggest population in the high school or in any school is kids that are involved in any extracurricular activity. They need motivation. They need drive. They need something to garner some time and interest in. And I'm worried that if we don't give them that, we may lose kids for good. They may not come back to sports. So we've really got to think long and hard about exhausting every possibility to get these guys going this year.
Well, hopefully, Coach, we get them in school first. I really feel we get them in school, then anything's possible after that. School always comes first, and then if we get them in school, athletics hopefully can be around the corner, done in a safe way. We're not trying to again downplay anything. We just want hopefully some dialogue, right? Just let's talk about what we can do if we do it, instead of just being shut out and no. Got to give us hope. Got to give people hope. Yeah. Volcano Vista head coach Chad Wallin, thanks so much for being our guest on the Sports Desk. We sure appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
You bet.